Hey there folks, today I'd like to take a casual peek into the Series 2 of the Motion Revive series of action figures from Bandai. I believe this set was first available around 2007 based on the data and the packaging, and I don't know how much these originally retailed for. I got these sets at a comic shop called CNC Central in San Francisco, California in 2014, and I paid $8.99 for each of these sets. Now, taking a closer peek at the box packaging here of these Motion Revive series of figures, and it's pretty interesting. I saw it on the counter at CNC Central, on the back counter, and I asked about it because I saw the picture of this Zeranos there, and it looked pretty interesting. And on closer inspection, I found out these are similar to like gashapon type toy figures, in that they're small or in capsulated, but not in a capsule, but in a box. I guess these are actually closer to blind bag figures, but in box form. And I was not familiar with this series, but looking at the packaging, it had me interested, and I picked up a couple. There were about a set of 8 of them behind the counter at CNC Central. And it's randomized figures in the box. You don't know which one you're going to get until you open them. And it's pretty interesting. You can see Zeranos from Master Rider Den-O here. Pretty cool. I guess this is one of the figures you can get in this Series 2 of Motion Revive series. Now, I don't know how many series total there were, but this was the only one they had, so I picked up a couple of them. And you can see here what I can read of in English. It has 24 points of articulation on these figures, which is pretty cool. And these figures are sized, I guess, roughly around 4 inches, based on the visual of the box here. So we're going to have to see when we open them how close they are to other 4-inch scale figures. But pretty interesting. Now, Series 2, based on the packaging here, looks like you have a set of figures from both Den-O and Kabuto. And you can see a Den-O figure here of gun form, Zeranos and Vega form there. And we also have here on the other side other figures you can get. Zabi from Kabuto. And we have Gatak and from Kabuto. And I'm not familiar with this Den-O form. I haven't watched the entire series. I think that's called Wing form. I'm not sure. Pretty interesting. And you have the back of the box here. You have a picture of Den-O in gun form there in various poses, which is very cool. And then we have Den-O, or not Den-O, but Zeranos in both, I guess, the regular form and the Vega form. And then also you have a picture of Zabi and Gatak fighting it out there. And you got some print here in both Japanese and English. You got in there Motion Revive series, over here MRS, and then you got all these print in Japanese and also on the bottom edge of this box there. So we're gonna go ahead and open these sets and see what we have. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open up the first of 2 that I have here. And let's see, we'll just open it from the bottom here. I like to preserve this top portion here, and we'll just peel this open and see what we have there. That's some print in Japanese. And pull this out. don't know if you can see it, but there's some print inside the box, so that's kind of cool on there. And oh, this is pretty interesting. It looks like we have Momotaros over here. So, and he wasn't even pictured on the box. So, I guess there's a bigger range of figures that you can get in this series. Pretty cool. Now, let's go ahead and take Momotaros Imagine out of the box. Out of the package, I mean. Plastic packaging. And, oops. There we go. This is a pretty decent figure. Once you have it in hand here, it's actually quite decent on here. And, pretty interesting. It does have some paint detail on it, very cool. And this figure, just by looking at it and feeling it, is made of a cheaper plastic used by Bandai Japan. It's not like a Figure Arts or anything like that, but that's understandable considering these are more like blind bag type of figures. They're made to be inexpensive and really not really collector quality, but still for the grade of this type of material used, and still a rather decent figure overall. And just looking at some details of Momotaros there, Imagine, and he is one of the Imagine from Den-O, if you're not familiar with Momotaros on there. One of the main support characters on the show. So pretty cool, and looking at it, you could see lots of detail for a figure this size and quality. It's actually pretty decent. Of course, they don't have as much detail as, say, a Figure Arts, but like I said, for this type of figure, it's actually pretty decent and quite nice. And you can see the paint detail on both the face here and in the recesses of the face, also along the torso there. Very, very cool. Got the spikes going on the shoulder pads. The hands here are missing, and that's because they are on a sprue, plastic sprue, and it looks like you get two sets of hands here, which is pretty neat. But let's go ahead and take a look at more of this figure first. And you can see also here the belt for Momotaros, and then you have some along the leg some armor plating, and you can see the detail on that is actually quite nice as well. For a figure of this size, so pretty neat, and pleasantly surprised at the quality for this type of figure. So pretty cool. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the sprue here and see what we can use out of it. Just bust this open here. There we go. And what we have here is a sprue of extra hands, different types of hands. You have a hand, a pointing finger hand, and open hand there, another open hand, and what's really cool is you have a hand here holding his cup of coffee there, which is pretty cool because that was a theme on the Den-O liner. They drink cups of coffee while on the liner. Let me see if I can get these off of the sprue here. Basically, just twist them off. And you can see the hand there, and you can see a peg. So you can peg, this is the left hand here. peg it into the figure. Yeah, clicks into place and has a secure hold, so that's pretty decent there. And we'll go ahead and use the Cup of Joe here, holding hand. Let's see. And pretty cool. Pretty decent. Quite nice. I like it quite a bit, and especially for this size of the figure and the quality, it's actually quite nice. We're going to go ahead and go over the articulation for these Motion Revive series figures. And it looks like the head is on a ball joint at the base of the neck. So you can turn the head side to side. It won't go all the way around because of the collar area of the armor there. So that impedes the articulation there. It does go up and down a little bit, as well as side to side, so that's kind of cool. Looks like the arms at the shoulders are on a ball socket joint. That allows the arm to go all the way around. And there's also a ball joint within the torso there, so you can move it forward and back as well, so that's kind of neat. Now with the ball socket at the shoulder, you can have the arm go out about that much and that much in. There's a swivel cut at the bicep area, allows the arm to go all the way around. Kind of nice. Double joints at the elbows there, so that's kind of nice. So you can bend the arm about that much inward and extend it out about that much. And of course we saw the peg go into the wrist, so that allows the hand to go all the way around. I believe there's a ball socket joint in the torso area. You can turn the figure side to side, but not all the way around on there. But you can also bend the figure forward a little bit and back about that much, and even tilt side to side. So you got a nice range of motion at the torso there. The legs at the hips are on ball sockets, what looks like ball sockets. Let me check the waist for a sec. No waist movement, but continuing with the leg at the hip allows the leg to go upwards about that much, downwards and back about that much, so that's nice, and outwards about that much and in. There's a swivel cut at the top of the thigh, and this seems to be stuck a little bit. Oops, looks like you can pop off the leg at the thigh. So, but these swivel cuts at the thigh have stuck. I might have to loosen it. Oh, there we go. I loosened it a little bit. Looks like the joints are easy to pop off, but they aren't loose. They're actually quite tight. They're just easy to remove on there. So, but you can swivel. Looks like the top of the thigh. Mine seems to be stuck, and we'll have to loosen that a little bit later, if they are able to be loosened. Maybe they're glued down. I'm not sure. But articulation at the knee has got double hinge joints, so you can bend the knee about that far back, and yeah, actually that far back, and this far forward, so that's kind of cool. And the feet at the ankles have ball socket joints, so you can move them around up and down there, and got a bit of ankle pivot, so nice range of movement other than these stuck joints at the thighs, which we can probably loosen up later on. So nice surprise because this figure is not shown on the box, so that's kind of cool that we have Momotaros. Now for size comparisons, it seems to be pretty close to 3 3/4 inch in scale, and I have a 3 3/4 inch scale figure here of Iron Man Mark III. from the Iron Man 2 line by Hasbro, and you can see they're relatively in scale. Momotaro's is a bit shorter than Iron Man, but just by a tad. That's not including the horns there. With the horns, he's about the same height. But scale-wise, it's pretty decent. So it's in the 3 3/4 inch scale to 4 inch scale for the figure. So, which is pretty nice. So if you want to mix universes, I guess you could do that. It's a really nice figure for this size. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a peek at what we have in our second box, and we'll just peel this open. Now we're not gonna go over the articulation since we already went through that with Momotaro's, unless it's radically different, but I doubt they will be, and we'll see and note any differences. And let's go ahead and open this up here. This one's a little bit more difficult to open. And we got the same bagged format, and then we have the print in there, and it looks like some looks like a barcode type thing, or scanner type thing you can scan if you want more information. There's a link here that says M at gashapon.jp there, so I guess they are similar to gashapons, but they're not in capsules, they're in these boxes. Pretty interesting. And it looks like we have Zeranos here. And Zeranos, wow, he comes with a bit more than Momotaro's did, so that's interesting. You can see the figure there, and 2 sprues of accessories and a weapon accessory, so that's kind of cool. Now let's go ahead and take these out of the bag. There we go. We have the figure. And we have 1 sprue of accessories there. There we go. We have a second sprue here. And we'll get this weapon accessory here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the sprues here. Looks like we have a couple of accessories. Maybe this is one accessory to be combined together for a weapon, the blaster, I guess, for Zeranos there. And we have a sprue for just 1 pair of hands. Basically, they look like cupped hands, probably to hold the accessories. There is some paint detail here on the wrist area in gold, which is pretty cool. And then we have the weapon accessory here. Now this is totally unpainted, it's just cast in black on there, and it's very soft here at the tip. It's very thin on there, so it's on par with, say, a Star Wars figure weapon accessory from the 4 inch line, in the material and the I guess construction type quality on there, where it's just all flat black on there. Taking a look at Zeranos here, it's actually pretty decent on here. Let me get the hands off the sprue here so we can attach it to the figure here. Twist that off at the right hand, plug that in. And the left hand, these are not too difficult to remove from the sprue. There we go. Taking a look at Zeranos here, pretty decent. One thing I did notice on this particular figure, the color on the helmet area is a little bit different than what's on the rest of the figure. I don't know if that's intentional or not. I have to go back and watch Den-O. It's been a while since I've seen Den-O, and actually had interrupted watching the series right when Zeranos appears. And I don't remember his helmet being as a lighter shade than the rest of his armor, but it is on this figure, so whether that's a QC thing or not, I'll have to figure out later on. But you could see Zeranos there, detail-wise, is pretty decent. You can actually see some sculpting details on the spiky areas on the helmet there. It's kind of hard to see with the glare from the lights, but there's really some decent sculpting details along the spiky areas of the helmet, which is very, very cool. A lot of attention to detail. You can see the back of the helmet there with the liner tracks as a theme in the show. Liner also being like a bullet train type thing. But pretty neat. Now, this particular figure does not have a high collar area like Momotaro's did. So it has a greater range of movement on the head. So that's nice to note on the differences of articulation there. So pretty cool. Moving down to the rest of the figure, it's pretty much the same articulation-wise. And also detail-wise, it's just nicely detailed for a figure of this quality, build quality, and price. So it's actually pretty decent. And you can see some painting detail along the torso there, and also some nice sculpting detail. Very cool. There's the back of that. You got the liner tracks there. And you have his belt there, pretty neat. The driver there, and you can see some of the details on that. Very cool. And moving down to the legs, you have that typical Den-O type of construction or design quality from the show, with the pieces over here and the armor and the knee and the legs there. So that's pretty decent. Let me see if I can move the thighs on this one. Yeah, see, the thighs on here are a lot easier to move than Momotaro's on there. They're not as stuck. So maybe just a stuck joint on Momotaro so that we can loosen later on. And the torso here is a lot higher range of movement compared to Momotaro's. You can get some decent poses out of this particular figure. So very cool. I really like these, and but these are probably no longer produced. I don't see any information on any current releases of these type of figures, and based on the box, it was released, looks like it was released around 2007, so they probably are not easy to find if you're looking to find these figures. And when I return to San Francisco, I may hit up a couple more boxes of these if they're still available. But pretty decent figures for this Motion Revive series of action figures by Bandai. This is my casual peek into the Motion Revive Series 2 of action figures by Bandai. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.